Game 3 on the horizon. Let's see if one of the teams will come out 2-1 at the end of the game. I feel like that's an inevitability. Inevitability.
Yes.
Words.
It's going to happen, man.
Anemone.
You know, exactly. You know, it's one of those things where when it's not prepared, when you try to make it on the fly, you know, maybe you put a little bit too much salt on the dish and it comes out a little bit, a little bit too much. And that's exactly what just happened there. Now, Game 3 on the horizon, you know, Champ Select not too far away. Do you believe there's going to be anything thrown into the mix to change it up once more?
Depends on the kind of change-ups you're after. I think Chiefs have no reason to change anything as long as Direwolves don't change anything toward them, right? So Hecarim, Kai'Sa seems to be a very successful composition for them so far, even though Mboma hasn't necessarily been playing this like crazy weak side or strong side Kai'Sa, who's just been quite indifferent as a player until team fights. So if that continues, that's really good for the Chiefs, because normally it's much more extreme down that path. In saying that, I do think the Direwolves will change something. We've seen some crazy adaptations from them before, but we've also seen them double down on what didn't work, because they know they can make it work and they think it's execution. So I am very curious on the Direwolves side as to what they do.
Well, you know, we have seen Swathe play a bit of Kayn. Is there any chance that Only could? Because I think we've got a video clip. I don't think it's Only. It's someone playing Kayn. Who's playing Kayn? Let's have a look. Who's this? Oh, it's Dawnfire again. Okay, so looks like doing. Oh yeah, nice.
I was so worried that it was going to be you again. Yeah. I was so expecting your pen to kill it. Oh no, quit.
Yes. Oh no.
Oh no.
It went wrong. You think you misclicked before? Well, this is the ultimate misclick.
Oh, what do you think the odds are it was a mini-map click? I think that was a mini-map click. Look at the angle of that.
Maybe. But what? Where would you be sending the W anyway? If you had your mouse down to the mini-map, it'd be the same situation.
Great question. Right? Great question, man.
How did that 1v1 take place in the first place? That's my question. Was that a case of playing solo queue and you getting flamed? You're like, I 1v1 me, bro. You do that and it's like, okay, maybe just chuck that person on my ignore list and never think about that moment again?
Yeah, I didn't even look. Was it just a one-on-one mode? You know,
yeah, 1v1 ARAM.
Oh,
and there was a Thresh versus Kayn. Probably not a thing that a Thresh would have a great time winning, but thank you for sharing that with us all.
Now, before we get into Game 3, we have to quickly check our reaction time, check our cognitive ability, and you know, check ourselves. Esports Assessment Labs, go on over there. You can do a couple of tests. You can assess where you're at, where you're going, where you've been. And obviously, you can't do the where you've been until you've done it in the present, because if you don't do the present, then, well, you know, it's going to be a pretty bad Easter. And I think we've all had a pretty good Easter, so, you know, give yourself a present, go over there and test yourself. Now, let's just get into Game 3 before I continue digging this hole. It's time for me to just disappear and get out of here. Boys, take us away. Game 3, Chiefs and Direwolves coming up now.
Yes, let's find out, Mac. What does this actually look like for the series? Are we going to a game number 5? Are we going to wrap things up here? A dub on either side, and that's all she wrote. We're going to find out what adaptations may take place. The question was you threw before, Rusty. Ban away the Hecarim. Remove it. Don't allow Swathe to have that engage angle. Don't give them a case of multiple dive threats. And regardless of the game state, even if Direwolves have a lead, Chiefs are still able to find success. So will we see them ban it, or will we see Direwolves say, we'll just address it with different laning picks instead?
So here's what we do know is the Direwolves have actively chosen to be on the red side for this game. One thing that is important with the red side is obviously you have counter picks in certain lanes that you would prioritize. It's been Claire last game, and it was Cupcake in game number 1. And I don't think that any of those counter picks have actually been game-changing. I think, you know, Camille into Sion is a really good matchup for you eventually. You outscale, and that's fine. Forcing Lived to blind pick is not an issue. Lived plays tanks most of the time anyway.
Yep.
So this red side priority to me does seem like the 4-5 bans into the 4th pick are really standout features for them as to what they're actually looking to do to the side of the Chiefs. As so far, no changes.
Well, that 3rd ban soon to come through. We've seen Chiefs every single time go for blue side, get themselves the first big Hecarim, and this time it will be banned away. So that's good to see. That now means that the Chiefs have to try and decide, what do we go for instead? It had been the Rel, had been the Alistair banned away, so if it's not going to be the Swathe show to get the first pick priority, it'll be Dragku instead.
Yeah, I mean, Alistar is a pretty free response to this one, as the Gnar was chosen to be banned here by the Chiefs. In fact, that Gnar ban may have actually enabled the Hecarim ban. because there is at least an answer to the Rel. So we are going to see some adaptations through the draft in general here. Only is prioritization sticking with the Udi with the Hecarim gone. Makes you wonder where Swaith will choose to go. Lilia is the obvious response, but that's not Swaith. It may be Swaith now, but Lilia is not necessarily Swaith. There you go. We're going to see how he goes.
First time Lilia. It's a champion that's been so present and has made it for such a long time. He said, you know what, screw the meta Rusty. I play Evelyn, and I just do whatever I want. So here we go. They're going to say that you aren't allowed to have the Alistair Kaiser Dream Wombo bot 2v2, so they'll remove that as well.
Yeah, so they're going to deny... I guess it's just comfort at this stage for Mboma. I'm imagining that the whole week of prep has been trying to play Kaiser as much as possible, just to get him back off the Seraphine, off the Ezreal necessities, and really give something extra to the side of the Chiefs. This is, again... There's one thing we've learned from the Direwolves is that if you ban Tristana, that was Guncrab's priority, Jinx is going to be the answer. That hasn't changed. There's no reason to change it so far. The Jinx has been perfectly fine. The risk that the Jinx always fell into was the enemy composition constantly trying to take him down. And now the Hecarim's gone. A little bit easier to navigate, you would have to say this time, though the Rel doesn't exactly help too much. Still a lot of potential engage there.
It certainly is, as you say. Not going to be as crazy as a Hecarim in terms of its instant output, but definitely when a Flash Magnet Storm comes across, you've definitely got to panic for a second and realize, okay, what's my out from here? Do we turn things around as a result? But get ourselves into the second phase of banning once more. A very similar draft from game 1, 2, now coming into 3. Similar focus once again in terms of banning away these top lane champions. Forget about the Ornn this time. We're going to ban away the Sion this time.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that Azir ban actually influences Direwolves with any mid lane options, because I was expecting this. So the Ornn and the Sion are going to be taken away. This does push Liv's champion pool a little bit more. Yeah. Nara's already removed. So Nocturne is pretty much a top lane champion at the moment as well. By the way, Stridebreaker top Nocturne, very annoying.
Yep.
It wasn't just a one-off for Peace or Appy, it has existed globally. Set does seem to be Renekton maybe, is the option that the Chiefs will go towards here. And could potentially open the world to the side of Claire in top lane if he would like then.
Yeah, I mean, Renekton and Camille are the two similarities that these top laners share, and after that, it starts to deviate a little bit, right? You talk about Claire, Malphite, and Cho'Gath, whereas Liv does play GP and Set, so that is their variance, where they've only got a game apiece on those champions if they were to start diving into that as an option for this one. I wondered if we would see something like this, if we would see the likes of a Shock Zoe, where they had found success on just, 100 to zeroing somebody before the fight even takes place. So this does give them some really solid pick potential now.
Yeah, absolutely. Works nicely with the potential flanks there from an Alistar in mid lane priority as well. Udi obviously has a lot of movement speed to assist in that one. So starting to get the vibes that we're going to be playing around mid lane a little bit more here for the side of Direwolves this time. But that does obviously open the floor to Kisei to play whatever he would like. Yasuo is one of those old school picks into a Zoe. If you're a Yasuo player, Yone seems to be the preference for Kisei that we know of. And realistically, with an AP jungle picked, which is why I was super excited for this Lilia, it opens the door for Kisei to play any of his champions now. Champion pool wide open, and he gets his preference in the Yone.
And we saw this actually when myself and Jules were running a cast. He mentioned this interaction that Kisei loves actually playing Yone into the Zoe because he can actually cancel a Sleepy Trouble Bubble with the slingshot back. So going to be some crazy interactions here that might actually deceive the likes of Shock and find kills that otherwise would not be quite possible. We mentioned now with that top lane champion pool narrowed, what would it mean? Well, Renekton is the answer here for the Chiefs. And how could we forget the fact that Gragas is still up and available?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, a tank in top lane would have been perfectly fine. Realistically, with the comp that the Direwolves had, Claire could have picked anything. They have decent engage, they have decent frontline, they've got mixed damage across the board as well. Physical damage wouldn't have gone astray for top lane, just quietly. But Udi does have a decent amount of mixed damage overall, so it's not the end of the world. And this Gragas provides a little bit of extra disengage for the composition. It's not the full Direwolves Janna Gragas comp where we've seen them, but we know Claire can be successful on the Gragas, and that's the direction he's gone here.
He certainly has. So now you've got two compositions, one that's continuing for the side of Chiefs to go forward, be aggressive, find sleeps, find stuns, and destroy you from afar. Whereas the side of Direwolves, it's now almost like double down, and we've gone from game 1 to game 3, Guncrab every single time in Jinx, but game upon game, he's getting more and more tools to protect him.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely is. A little bit different this time overall from the side of Direwolves, 100%. I'm very interested to see how this goes. This is our, like, if you consider this best of 5 effectively a best of 3 right now, right? First to 2 wins is the winner of this series. This kind of feels like a fresh draft all around.
It does,
besides
yeah.
the bans influencing it just a little bit. So it's like a genuine game 1 almost.
Well, we jump into this one, and these are the 2 different drafts. Worth noting, actually, that both mid laners most played has been a bit of a tie. 4 games apiece on the Zoe. And it is going to be the variation between the 2 of them now to showcase who can find the most success with it. Actually, worth noting that Shock has a 100% win rate on the champion. Played it religiously for multiple games in a row. And you just love to see the copy pasta in chat when she gets to that point in the game where she can just destroy you from afar. Instantly, you've got priority, you've got map control. You've got objectives to play for. We're jumping into game number 3 of the series. It is a best of 5. It's all tied up at 1 apiece.
This is an exciting game to see how it starts. Direwolves have shown their tendencies to be very slow when it comes to how they navigate the Rift and get into those team fights. You'd imagine that a Zoe and a Jinx composition feels a very similar way, but a bit more aggression around the first item spike timings here. So that's what we're really going to be keeping our eyes on. I wouldn't be surprised to see it go back to the Kraken Slayer for the Jinx this time around. And that we see Shock with his first item, Ludens or Leandri's, whichever he chooses to go. Could be Everfrost. I'm not actually sure what it is with Zoe's. It could change all the time. You actually want to see Zoe's get active then, because they do need to get a little bit more snowbally on the Rift, or they start to drop off just a little bit. A fed Zoe stays obnoxious. A Zoe that falls behind the curve does start to really fall to the wayside. You know, Yone can build a bit of magic resistance, clear waves, and he's everywhere, where you may struggle.
Yes, certainly can be. And to answer your point from before, I think Ludens tends to be the go-to right now. Just the instant burst damage. We see them very keen to opt into a Dark Seal and snowball out of control to get the instant value from Majias. With 25 pages written in the book, a bestseller to take you through to a game number 4. We'll see what happens here in this one as he's opted for the Corrupting Potion. Looking for some aggressive trades and plenty of sustain to deal with that of Kisei, who, if we've learned anything from his Yone performances, very keen as soon as he's got levels to hit that slingshot on cooldown, get all up in your face and almost like bully you out.
He's no Incursio in terms of aggression, but he's on that list of aggressive Yone players that are worth considering. Absolutely loves a bit of a biff, and we'll be giving it to you. So while we consider that mid lane might be aggressive, while we consider that they might have their single item spike timings, we have to look at how they actually navigate their laning phase, and a lot of that revolves around where these junglers are. It was a red start for the Lilia that was spotted by vision from the Direwolves very early. You can see that at the red buff now. And he's going to be pathing to blue, so both junglers realistically just matching each other. And what this means is you've got your level 4 clears, prioritized before a gank is considered, particularly for an Udyr who doesn't level bear stance before 4 if they're doing a full clear. And that's when they'll start to get active and on the board. So I wouldn't be surprised to see teams play pretty slowly, just try and manipulate their waves where they're weak-sided. So like right now, Claire doesn't want to push if possible. Whereas Direwolves on the other side of the map will be pushing relentlessly. That's the only real thing you'll see at the moment.
It's worth noting that both support plays, after we've gone through the full motions, as you say, almost like a clean slate coming into this one, both support players have got their most played, have got their champions that have defined them for the split so far. And it'll be interesting to see if the question changes, and as a result, will both be very keen to roam? Will we have a 1v1 situation between these bot laners to flex upon each other? Or will it be a case of, you know, stick to the 2v2, protect, shield, get them the item spikes, and then we group up otherwise? Because we've seen a very different tune coming into this series compared to what has really been their statement or their style across the past 5 weeks.
I mean, already we can see that it's going to be a cheater recall here for Gunkrab. He's going to go towards a Cull purchase with a control ward. So Direwolves are going to be very active with their vision placement right now on the Rift bot side, which to me indicates that we might see a Krug clear from only back towards some bot side focus. But right now he needs to stay top just because of the wave state up there. Claire definitely needs to try and get that one pushed in. We'll see how he chooses to play this one out. I think the big emphasis from all of these statements I'm making on wave priority is that mid lane's the volatile lane overall. You'll probably see junglers hover, like the weak side laners, but that means that they could sneak opportunities to gank mid, and it's a dangerous place. You know, there's no cleanse, there's no ignites for the mid laners. They're both teleport users right now, and forcing a flash could be very deadly, especially if they tick over to 6.
Could be very deadly. And we'll have the unsealed spell book so we can cycle out that TP later on. That's that initiation that we mentioned where Kisei gets the moment. Gets up in your face and isn't afraid to take a little bit of a brawl early on into this game as we now pan back towards bot side where it's a case of where will these laners decide to do battle? Will they do it on their own or will they do it with jungle assistance? Because that's exactly where both junglers are parving at the 5-minute mark.
Yeah, not too surprising here overall. I think, you know, expected of only when we spoke about going, Krugs probably wants to play towards where his vision control will be with 2 control wards sitting on both members of Dial's bot lane. It makes sense. Given that last mid lane trade, I think it's very clear to me that Kisei knows the matchup intimately and knows his timings. As you can see, the interaction with the bubble there. Even if you cop the bubble before you press E, you can use the slingshot, bring yourself back and remove it. I think that's a disgusting interaction. So
yeah,
you can understand why it's a priority matchup for him.
First Dragon, though, is going to go the way of Direwolves. They've found the pressure in all the right places. They've got bot lane pushed in place. Feeling quite confident about their chances of taking this one. Shock used the TP back to mid lane, so they lose nothing as a trade-off. First Dragon on the board for them. And it is an Ocean Dragon that's removed from the equation.
Bit of focus right now on top side. Claire not 6 and is going to be denied maybe the experience for this one.
Yeah, going to go for the body slam first of all. Worth noting that Swaith doesn't have ultimate either. A TP comes on through. Kisei looking to try and pick up the lion's share of this gold. He has ultimate, can hit the dash if need be. Liv tanks up 1 and 2, just out of lethal range. Going to survive, but first blood goes the way of Kisei. And he burns the flash afterwards to deny a huge wave.
Yeah, really clutch there from Kisei, the way that he played that one out. Good teleport from him as well. Looking towards the bottom side of the map, you could see that Only was considering a response, but diving 2 members with extra summoner spells and all of their health still up, not realistic to be considered. Claire has to teleport back to top lane, and now he's just in a losing situation overall. As Chiefs have really set out the game plan, the recipe, to try and beat Direwolves. It is get Claire behind, and then use that lead with Liv, not necessarily to have Liv everywhere to snowball the map, but to understand that Claire may continue to make mistakes and give yourself opportunities with number advantages. The later the game goes, the more a 4v5 is important.
It just feels like it goes back to the point we raised with Kuden, right? About the fact of, has this been a conscious game plan to target to target Claire in the top lane to get that lead? And it's like, well, if the opportunity presents itself, of course we're going to capitalize. And, you know, it seems to be the same tune where both teams have their weak lanes set opposite. But it is always the Chiefs that are able to find success when executing upon it.
Wave in a pretty dire state as well for Mr. Claire up there, so you can see Only's going to be some reinforcements to ensure that he is safe, which means that there are some now risks elsewhere on the map. You've got both supports moving their way, as they want to do between Direwolves and Chiefs, out of bottom lane as much as possible. Still a winning lane overall for the Jinx. Jinx into Kai'Sa, by the way. We haven't spoken too much about this as a 1v1. Jinx pretty much always wins that. The only way that a Kai'Sa, I think, has a fighting chance against it is if she closes the gap. But Jinx having rockets means that she'll always outrange you. And being able to hit the wave to get the minigun attack speed bonus up before you even get a Kai'Sa involved means that there's very little that a Kai'Sa can do, especially if she's trading in wave. So I think that's a lot of why we've been seeing just Mboma falling behind.
Yet to see the Zarya interaction that's been so prevalent elsewhere, right? It seems to be the handshake. When we talk about supports between Alistair and Rel, it seems to be the case of one goes Kai'Sa, the other goes Zarya. One's playing to go forward and the other's playing to respectfully disengage and hit the Featherstorm and go back. But Guncrab has his eyes set elsewhere. No, he wants to go for the laning pressure, wants to go for the, I suppose you could say, the cheese with the rocket, but more so than anything, just the reset potential with the passive when he can get excited.
Are we going to flash for this? There's no way. There's an early disengage there by the Chiefs. You can see the sweeper now going to be used. They recognize that they were spotted with how early that disengage was, but still a little bit of priority force there for the side of Direwolves in their 2v2. And top lane seems to have stabilized, at least for now, in a 1v1 sense. Gragas actually has a lot more standing health than a Renekton does, and we'll probably start winning some small trades here.
He could do, but it's worth noting that Swaith is up top again. He's got himself a Herald. He's looking to break open the base. There's 2 turret plates remaining. If they can just crash this wave in and get up low enough before the headbutt goes off, that is perfect. That is clean. And that is a guaranteed turret falling on down at 9 minutes 30.
Yeah, and also really nicely done by Swaith. And it's not an often spoken about thing, right? But he had about half health to his name and chooses to hide his health. So just summons it over the wall, knows that the turret will drop, and doesn't show that he's low. Doesn't want to even give the risk of Claire being able to stay and defend if possible. Kisei.
Kisei walking into the jungle to try and protect. Whilst that's going on, Gunkrab just gets sniped. The Killer Instinct does what it says in the tin can. It gets the job done. They snipe him out. Dragu, actually, I believe, picked up the kill with the Ignite tick of all things. But a successful TP. Now back to the Raptor camp. It's a fight between two. It started between the jungler and the mid laner. Both take themselves down. And only he's got no flash and just going to be kited by the Lilia.
Yeah, the passive stacks ramp up there for the Lilia, so we'll be able to disengage. At the end of the day, both mid laners are going to be trading themselves, and bang.
Oh!
Beautiful flash. Yeah, nicely done from Swaith to survive. Is actually going to do the Wolves now, because why not? You've already cancelled your recall, so actually going to lose a bit of tempo there. Is in no shape to defend mid. So Dragon probably going to drop from that Jinx ult, believe it or not. Gunkrab, even after dying, will do some work for the team.
Well. Carnage all across the map, making our spectators really have to work for it to try and figure out what is the most important moment to talk about, look at, and observe. But once everything calms down for a second, we get to turn our attention back towards the Dragon. The second of the game continues to be quite characteristic of these two teams. We've seen, for the most part, every single game, Chiefs, big emphasis, as has been their strategy, to get the Herald, drop it topside, get lived online, get him a kill, get him pressure, and then allow him to do what you said before, right? Just influence the rest of the map.
I think we're going to have a Kisei gap kind of game here for the Chiefs. With how far ahead he currently is, 2-1. You know, not massively ahead of Shock overall when you look at the CS differential, but he's going to get to his Mythic faster. He's going to be able to 1v1 Zoe pretty much at all times. That was a real flash. Getting true summoners out by simply existing after taking the enemy Raptor camp. Like, you can see how much of a commanding presence he has. And then you've got a Lilia that floats. It's kind of everywhere. And a single Swirl Seed connects. Suddenly they're put to sleep, Yone will one-hit you. There's so many considerations now. And so many threats the Chiefs have that Dials have to contend with.
Well, Lived was there as well. Like, if that Swirl Seed had connected, he was ready to flash across that wall, even slice and dice his way through. So, Shock very concerned as to how the current map state is influencing his own individual 1v1 and what it sort of means for his own power. One of the first games I think we've seen what's been Chiefs have actually found the gold lead in the first 15 and are showcasing it, what it actually looks like when they start the game on the front foot.
Look at this, by the way. Kisei's just going to get insulted by Only. They watch the war get placed and Only says, not to my mid laner. And he's going to clear that one with a sweeper and just hovering to protect, of course. Kind of matching what you've been seeing done here by Chiefs jungler. But it's that priority that you highlight, right? It's Dragu now being here. It was Lived being here a minute ago. And you want to talk about recipes that have worked before to beat Direwolves. It is camping Shock in mid lane, making the mid laner of Direwolves obsolete. That is a good way to find a win condition for yourself.
And it felt like for the first half, at least, of the LCO, that even when the Direwolves weren't necessarily, getting the dubs on the board, they were looking at a squad where it was Shock doing 30 to 40% of his team's overall damage. Then teams started to clock on. Well, maybe if we gank him, they aren't as strong as they might be otherwise. There's going to be a dive attempt going towards bot side. Cupcake leads the line. He hits the ultimate. They're trying to take an invoke, but it's only to pick up that kill. TP's come on through to try and reinforce things, but it might just be a bot lane collapse. It might just be a Kisei showdown as he gets knocked back into the brush. Denies the vision, but there's nobody around him to try and protect him. Cupcake trying to live, but a super mega death rocket gives Gunkrab the double.
I mean, the turret aggro there saving Cupcake's life is Gunkrab being under there to tank one of those also. Kisei just seems to have assumed he was dead. Or was just so desperately hunting for a trade. Instead of flashing to safety, uses the E and commits to trying to kill the cow. So they'll get another kill for themselves after Cupcake had granted him safe passage to his base with his life intact. And they'll be able to get themselves, maybe, I don't think they'll be able to break the full turret, but a comprehensive win overall, and something that Direwolves desperately needed to stay in this game.
That's completely even up the game, just like that. That was the 2k gold lead against him, but now we're back to dead even at the 14-minute mark. The turret plates are gone, the pressure is there, but it is all in terms of Chiefs still We found the early advantage with the Herald Summon top side just to allow Liv to continue to be a menace. He's got so much vision in all the right places right now on the top half of this map that he can just leave the wave, that he can just go roaming, find flanking angles, and look to try and punish Shock as well.
So overall, the stock take from that little skirmish in bottom lane is that Direwolves have a really strong win condition through their jungle and AD carry. And we've spoken about this from the draft as well, just to reiterate, it's a lot easier to be Gunkrab in this game than it has been to be Gunkrab in past games. You place the traps down, harder to navigate for a Renekton. If you have flash up, it's easy to deal with Rel in a sense. So that's a lot better than saying, from half the map away, I will die to any of their champions, which is what it has been in the past. That's a positive. And he's been doing pretty well, even considering how hard it was to beat him before.
This one is a positive. There's another positive. Another tower going down. As we get ourselves that much closer to the third dragon of this game. It's going to be a mountain sword to play for this time. Plenty of mitigation. Both teams will be hungry for that, to try and have the staying power, given how keen both teams have been to try and find fights and fight pretty much anywhere and everywhere, no matter the circumstances. Cupcake's got to be careful right now. He's trying to shield Gunkrab. A beautiful flash across. Sway putting him to sleep. Instantly hits the Summoner Cleanse. And the pressure pays off.
So at the end of the day, that was a flash from Swathe for the cleanse of Gunkrab, as well as the ultimate being used. Direwolves could be okay with that trade, but at the same time, Gunkrab's desperately trying to reset. He was being very greedy to get an extra wave to get that reset off, but now he's have to stay. So Chiefs could use that.
He's got the ultimate, hits Kisei. Kisei very low. He's got no minions to actually try and lifesteal himself back up. So he's down to 10% before this fight starts. The dragon gets stolen. Add insult to injury. Your jungler has no presence. The explosive cast is beautiful. They get put to sleep. You can sleep, I can sleep. Zoe can just do it better. Now they might look to just try and run these guys down. The killer instinct to try and disengage away. I don't think you can run away from the Udyr unless they decide maybe the tower is just a little bit too strong.
Only actually gave save passage to Mboma there by standing so far to the left. So pretty much a max range Kai'Sa ultimate was able to be used. Of course, the heal was there. If Udyr tried to chase any further, would have just been baiting him into his death. Tired, a scary place to see. Nevertheless, that mid lane damage that was done to Kisei is something that grants Direwolves the passage to take that fight. But it still could have been Chiefs getting the dragon and getting away. That was a second later. It was a nice little flash steal in the end from Only to keep them in control of the dragons. And this is the first time, Skimmy, that we've actually had 3 dragons in a row go the way of the Direwolves, where they've always got the first 2 and the third has swung. Or they've got the first 1, the second has swung, even when they have Drake control.
And that's a good talking point, because we've seen multiple times where they've had that early initiation, or early start, and then said, you know what, we're going to play for the map instead. Push 2 waves at once. Control on the idea of, you know, well, maybe you can open up some turret structures. Maybe we can control these side lanes to get ourselves that early inhibitor. They've decided we're all in on this dragon. We're playing for a 21-minute soul point. Now, Rusty, maybe they're looking to try and play for another one too.
Herald definitely on the cards here. Items completed. Teleport used by Shock to get mid from top so that he is with his team and only on the flank.
They're looking for it. It's getting lower and lower. Swathe might be able to pick this one up for free. Members get put to sleep. That's going to be them disengaging away to the safety to the top Baron side of that. They're going to try and turn things around. A flash in power, slice and dice, take him down and remove him from the equation. It's a 1-for-1 so far, and Mboma finds success. He's the AD carry that still is standing. But a double kill for Shock. He's been untouched. He's got all the summoners in the world. It's the Shock show, and he's playing Zoe.
Picks up a flash there as well and is looking to hunt Kisei down. They have vision Direwolves, so the bubble could hit here. And it does connect.
Even with the interaction to cancel at the sleep, the pedestal afterwards still connects. Swathe, meanwhile, actually, the fight continues despite us looking top river. There's still an extended skirmish at the bottom side of the river.
I mean, Swathe has got the stacked passive, so he's pretty bloody fast here. Claire could be in trouble. Okay, Swathe's in trouble.
That
you
can see from Claire. You can see from his play cam, even he's like, what? He's just cracking up.
He had stopwatch, actually. Swathe had the tools to maybe win that. I assume he had that before he died.
Hey. If they talk about Claire being able to grant across opportunities, then, well, He's taken one from their book there and said, how about this instead? So, not going to complain about that one whatsoever. 15 kills in 20 minutes. And I think Direwolf's quite content just to say, we'll just AFK until that next dragon spawns. Play for Soul Point in a minute 30. Magi's is now being picked up here from Shock. He's already had 10 stacks on that Dark Seal. He's already putting in a massive amount of work. And this is the scary threat when you allow these two mid laners to play their comfort and do damage with it.
I mean, the major takeaway here is, like, first it was a great consolation prize that Kisei was able to survive after getting the Herald buff. So they do have that to be used. That's nice. The real consolation... Sorry, that is the consolation. The real win is the fact that Shock has hit that one item spike and has started to actually influence the map, exactly what we said we wanted to see from that Zoe. So starting, even if the map is playing around him, starting to go absolutely insane is one of the best Zoes that we have in our league. Now that he is 4-1, we would say that's a very ahead Zoe, which is what you need to continue to be just devastatingly scary.
And we continue to chunk out key members here. Get those health advantages and allow them to open up the map to guarantee objectives once again. The Herald is going to be summoned. It's going to be utilized topside as Kisei is split pushing. The rest of the Chiefs, though, have grouped up in mid. There is a TP if Kisei needs to join in. Clay looking to try and start this fight up first and foremost. Magnet Storm locks them in place. 3 members put to sleep. Looking to try and take them down as a result afterwards, but it's going to be Shock that's trying to execute first. Gunkrab gets excited. Gunkrab looking to try and run them down, but both AD carries trying to do whatever they can to try and win this fight in their favor. And has lived with the dominance active. He just can't find anybody to attack. He's max rage, but what can he do with it? He's forced to run back to his turret. I'm looking at the situation now where Cupcake jumps in, ult expires, and he falls on down 2.
Yeah, that is a 1-for-2 trade in the end, but looking at the health bars from the Chiefs, there is still a lot of blinking health, and Shock is alive. They haven't cleared the control ward just to the right of him, however. It'll be very important for him to clear that if you want to start hitting some bubbles. So perhaps their undoing is the amount of vision that the Chiefs did have after that skirmish was successful. They're able to actually keep Direwolves away. That's really important, right? We can acknowledge that that was Soul Point. That could have been a Mountain Soul. It is only the Mountain Soul in comparison to a lot of the other more influential ones we've had today, but still they're able to buy time.
Huge in the context of this game, given that Direwolves have a slightly beefier composition compared to their counterpart, would have allowed them to really continue to find those aggressive angles where they are surrounding themselves with multiple members and buying up all their time and resources, being a sponge to allow their damage amplifiers to do what they can best. Out goes another rocket. I mean, this seems to be Gunkrab to a T right now. Not only is it used to try and steal away objectives, it's used to try and guarantee that recall timers are just completely scuffed.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is something that has been buying tempo. Think about the fact that that recall was delayed by a bit of time, and now look at the fact that they're pushing mid lane. So things like that. Now, I'm not going to say that was the best Jinx ult usage, but buying that time and that tempo can create opportunities, and it has been working quite successfully for Gunkrab so far. You know, that vision of the entire map has been definitely a positive, but now the Baron is on the cards, right? We have 3 minutes until the next dragon. Baron going to be played around. No Jinx ult for the moment. Does mean that Chiefs may feel a little bit more confident in their pushing forwards.
Slight difference between both AD carries, and both are going for the Phantom Dancer, looking to take on those 1v1s, whereas Gunkrab this time around has opted to go for the Runans, expecting that the opposition are going to stay clumped up, get max value, and exasperate the reset potential, so the likes of someone, say Shock, can just take them out afterwards.
Yeah, it's a tough game to be an AD carry in this one, isn't it? Like, Gunkrab in particular is going to just have a Renekton running at his face, has to save the cleanse maybe for a Lilia's Sleep if there's a flash available for that. There's just so many threats for a Jinx to deal with, and I feel like we're saying that every game, but I mean, that's just true. If you play well, then you can navigate those threats. If your team helps you get a kill and you get excited, Renekton's never going to catch you. So there is still a lot of positives there that the Jinx can work with. It's just, you know, at the start of the fight, at the front-to-back situation, lots of threats to consider. Needs to have summoner spells available. Thankfully for the Direwolves does have that, whereas I think Amboma on the other side of the coin here can see an Udis slowly running at you, can see a Gragas throwing the cast that you could probably react to. The flash body slam is the only threat there. Easier time.
Flash pole worth noting as well. Out goes the rocket, looking to basically just scan out information. Now, It'd be interesting to know what will Chiefs do with this information. Will they decide, all right, that's enough for us to guarantee that we just start this Baron?
Kisei. He's just kicked it off by himself. Has a lot of life steal with the Bloodthirst, the second item. So not only 100% crit, but an absurd amount of life steal. Kraken Slayer means they blast through this quickly. 2 Kraken Slayers as well would accelerate it further if they had Emboma in the mix. They're going to get this in time.
The percentile shred also of Sway. It's just gone. I don't think there's anything they can do to try and prevent this one. Shock tries to steal it from afar. That's the Baron going across right now. And that's going to be up and available for this next Soul Point contest.
If that was Kisei's call, that was exceptional from the rookie mid laner here of the Chiefs. He kicks that off so early, looking to try and take down the mid lane outer turret is the Direwolves, but Dragku's fast, having the chem tank there. And so that's just a Baron. That is just a clean Baron take here, and a big move by Chiefs.
Huge move. As soon as they spot that ultimate had been stolen or been used against them, they're like, well, that's our time to shine. Even if it is the 50-50 flip where everybody's available, it was never going to be that case because it just fell down far too quickly. Direwolves now find themselves once again down 2k gold. And depending on how this next fight breaks out, could open up another avenue to taking the base as a result.
I always find it interesting to watch player cameras, just as a brief aside, for where they're positioned. Like, Dragku's given us full-on, what I would call e-gym cam, if you're familiar with that, which means forehead camera only. Full-on leans into play League of Legends. Sway tends to give us net camera. The angle of his camera is from the bottom up. Chiefs definitely have the most interesting cameras, I'll say that much.
I think we've seen that from their interviews more than anything, right? Between the flexing of the muscles to the Chad Alpha positioning to emphasize those muscles. We'll get to see what happens if they can flex the muscles once again, because that's a very deep TP from Liv. He doesn't have a flash, but he's got a Dominus active right now. Everybody's knocked up in place, but who's going to take down this team fight as a result? Everybody clumped up means that it's a very easy lullaby for Swift to land as a result, and it's going to be Chiefs and Emboma that finds that first kill. That's going to be 1-for-1 as they take out the support too. Both junglers still alive, but both had to burn their flash to find those kills.
So many summoner spells used overall. Gunkrab actually gets hit by that spell seed, but will be okay. No life still really there, though, for the AD carry of Direwolves. And once again, no chance to contest the objective. Great teleport flank from Liv. That's the real hero in that situation, because it means that Gunkrab just doesn't really get to auto-attack. He has to run away the second that Renekton gets onto him. Survives, but at the end of the day, Chiefs get the Drake. They're pressuring mid lane outer turret. Ooh.
They're looking for more, but only may have been enough more than he can chew right now. Oh no, this is going to fall on down to the minion shots from afar. Kisei picks up the kill, picks up a turret, and just picks up so much with the Baron buff.
Yeah, that was just the E there from the Yone, I believe, as well, that was able to make sure that the execute was there. So well done from him with the Soul Unbound. Still pushing forward, so the bottom inner turret also dropping. Chiefs with this Baron. Team fight went even, 2 turrets, full dragon going their way. It's a pretty big Baron play overall.
Yeah.
Putting themselves well and truly in the driver's seat. And remember, winning this game puts you on match point.
Certainly does. And that is a big talking point to discuss, because we thought this could have been a game where, you know, game one decides it, where momentum may have just been the overarching theme. What does it mean when match point is thrown into the equation? If that's in the back of your mind, does that change anything whatsoever? Regardless, that is the question we're going to be finding out from the play that we see on our screen, but that Baron buff does give them, well, it does double their gold lead as a result. And I want to mention also here, Rusty, it's worth noting that Shock has still managed to hang on to all these Magi stacks. He's not really overextended himself. Still got 14 stacks there, so looking to say, well, I'm not going to make anything crazy if we are taking these kind of, you know, 2-for-2 trades.
And
as long as I got 25
that's
stacks,
really important,
maybe.
Skimmy? The reason that that's so important is because lots of Zoes, and you kind of have to go defensive items as their second item and maybe the third. So if you have a Magi's and you're actually able to keep those stacks up, go full Lux spec in your playstyle, then not only do you have defensive items which help you survive, you have the extra bonus damage. So the ability to build a Magi's and do it successfully is a crucial part of a lot of Zoe's builds if they want to be ridiculously strong at the 2 to 3 item spike point. If you fall behind and you have to sell that Magi's or sell that Dark Seal, and you have a Zonius, that's when you often find that Zoes just chip away at your health. They don't actually have one-hit potential.
Well, we'll see if that one-hit potential is still there, because Chiefs feeling very confident continuing their aggression that really came about from the fact of winning the fight for the Dragon, claiming the Baron, and claiming an overall skirmish success. The next Dragon spawning in a couple of minutes. It's going to be the Baron. That's going to be up very shortly, which both of these teams will have their eyes set on. So for the most part, keep these lane states in as good a position as possible. Get all the items in the world. And we might start to see some elixirs come out too.
We're well past the point of top laners killing each other. Super tanky. The only damage threat really between the top side of the map, top's jungles, is Swaith, who has gone for the Leandri Zhonya's build, so his team fight ready. And I do think a lot of this game now, you know, while it is 4K, 5K, the gold may differ between those values. It's going to be stable at that point for the moment. And a team fight is most likely going to determine the winner, which you wouldn't have it any other way between Chiefs and Direwolves so far. Team fights do seem to be the determining factor. Looking at summoner spells is the game plan here, though. You have to have flash on your carry if you're Direwolves to win this fight, to have a chance. Shock, I would imagine, doesn't have flash ready. Needs to cycle that exhaust through, however, if he does, to have a chance in a team fight. And Gunkrab, about a minute off it, and Baron's up in 10. So, window of opportunity there for Chiefs.
Big question then is, what do they value more? Do they go for the Baron steal? Do they go for the Baron fight? Or do they just hold on out and wait to try and claim themselves that soul point instead? Because in terms of timings that you highlight, that could be a big talking point to go for right now, as Clear seems to be caught out of position, but he's tanky. There's the flash pole, and then they just explode them apart! And just like that, it means it's a double kill for Gunkrab. He gets excited and he's popping off.
Just absolutely tears Chiefs asunder. Cupcake comes up huge. Gragas ultimate making sure the pick is secured, and the follow-up is there for the second. Outstanding team fight from Direwolves all around. And now they set their sights to the Baron. Chiefs, they were considering no more as they walk mid lane. And Direwolves back in this game, back in the driver's seat with the Baron.
What a beautiful play there, Rusty. The fact that it looked like Claire was not necessarily baiting, but caught, and then the flash pole out of nowhere, the explosive caster split apart the fight, and then Draku, his Magnet Storm, achieves absolutely nothing. There's the Baron, beautiful timing between top and mid to get themselves into the Dragon, and this time they might not have to sack.
Yeah, looking at what's ready to actually deal with. Oh, Liv. Yeah, they're done for. I mean, you've got Swaith on a flank right now. If Swellseed connects, it's possible that he can still have the Lilting Lullaby. It's just come back off cooldown, I believe. Chiefs are clearly looking to contest this one. 4 mountains into a soul is huge, but then being tanky.
He's exhausted, cycling through it right now. There's the ultimate, there's the execute. That's what you're after. 4v5, that's what we're looking at right now. Another explosive caster split apart this fight. Draku jumping to the backline, trying to join them all together, but this is not enough damage to bring it through in the end. Kisei, he tries to add his own input into the fight, but just does not mean enough. The damage numbers between these carries is out of this world. 24 stacks there, Rusty. Take the soul point.
And the team fighting has just suddenly out of nowhere improved from Direwolves. They look so much more clean. They're able to back-to-back win those team fights very cleanly. For one, it's the engage from Cupcake that starts it off. And the second time is that Claire actually comes into the fights pretty much even overall compared to Liv. And this Gragas pick may not necessarily be the solution, but it hasn't been kept down. And that has been more than enough for Direwolves to actually be able to come back in this game and look like the Direwolves that we've seen through the regular season, just a little bit more now.
It certainly does. It almost feels like we've had ourselves more of a traditional support, you know, technical pause, a timeout, a quick 30-second huddle around with the coach and say, what on earth are we doing? Because they've just come into those last team fights and just exploded, just completely shown up in a different way. And now they've got those buffs that they've been hunting for all game long. Just a little bit delayed, but they're not going to mind at the end of the day, as if this gives them the win. This is all they'll be playing for. Worth noting that Chiefs had a strong push only moments prior. Now Direwolves looking to try and do the exact same. His Dragon, he's at the fight already.
Has to disengage. Hex Flash going to come in from Cupcake there as well. Chiefs probably going to have to be routed, completely disengaged. Jinx ultimate for good measure to try and really keep them at bay. Swaith gets chunked out. Overall, Chiefs, you know, they have a really strong mid laner. They have a very strong AD carry, and Boma's 4-2 with a shutdown still on his head. But it's really difficult for them to actually find entry into these team fights, particularly when Direwolves are engaging.
Certainly are. Looking to try and take down that mid turret as a result. Gunkrab is so happy with the rocket launcher firing. He's already taken down Liv to half. Styrex is being popped. Out comes the TP. The fight ensuing. Swabe looking for a flash angle. He has it, but he has no Zonias. Can't do anything in this fight. Lullaby has already been used. I don't know what I'm saying, Rusty, because it's all just happening right now. You just can't even contest what you're seeing in this fight. It feels like a bit of a lol because look at the fight in ways it works against him. Nobody dies.
Not even the Priest in Age of Empires could do enough to stop the Dire Wolves here, as they're going to break the inhibitor for certain. Nobody dying, though, does mean it'll just most likely be a disengage after the team fight.
I'm broken, Rusty.
You broke me.
It's happened. Game 3, we're in, and even I'm just thinking, just hit the switch, make it happen, put them to sleep and win the team fight as a result. As you say, no one falls on down. And we might just be playing for another all-important Baron or Elder.
We've got a lot of time till then as well, though, and it's only the mid lane inhibitor that does drop. So these resets will definitely be about getting your minions under control first, trimming the waves down, starting to establish vision control primarily around the Baron, as you've got a minute extra of that being alive before the Elder Dragon is worth considering. For the Chiefs, it is about trying to keep mid-priority as forward positioned as possible, as close to the middle of the map as you can, so that you still give yourself a fighting chance for the vision battles. Because you have to remember, 2 minutes of fighting for vision battles with a super minion pushing down mid can make it really hard to keep mid priority.
Yeah, it really can. We saw it already in game number 2, where Chiefs called their bluff, right, when they were dancing for the Elder. So are you going to respond to that? Are you going to take the team fight here? So with time in our favor, could be looking at a very similar situation once again. And it's just curious to me, because we talk about gold leads starting to become a little bit insignificant as we start to reach this point in the game where items are, for the most part, pretty even. Just seems to be a case, like most of the time, you know, who has summoners, who has the engage angle to be protected and outplay.
Yeah, engage angle is the words that I would use, right? You've actually, so looking and contrasting both of the engage tools for each respective team. You've got Dragku 1 and 6 on his rel, has missed his opportunities when he has tried to engage. There's been a couple that have been really good. The one to the bottom of mid in the river is the one that stands out to me. But at the same time, it just feels like they're able to walk away from Dragku. The follow-up isn't scary. The teleport flank from Liv has been nice, but he's been aiming for his target of Gunkrab, where Dragku's looking at the rest of the team. And when you see the Direwolves engage, you have been seeing a higher degree of success in the person that they pick. Maybe not a full 5v5 engage wombo or anything, but the person they find dies is the stark difference that we've been seeing here. They're pushing for mid inhibitor, actually. The Chiefs have committed.
They're just trying to trade. Hey, aren't
Gauntlet thrown.
Explosive cast used. Yeah, Direwolves now pushing. They've got a bit of a split defense. Their inhibitor is going to fall on down, but doesn't mean that Direwolves can pick up a second for free. Question now is, can Direwolves stop their recalls? There's the second inhibitor down. Are they just looking to try and end the game right now? The rest of the members of Direwolves looking to try and disengage. Out goes the Super Mega Death Rocket from the base of their own, looking to try and cancel out as many recalls as possible. The TP's onto their own Nexus turrets. The second one's fallen on down. We're looking at a bit of an XPK moment. It's a Nexus exposed. Oh, he just falls on down. It's a shutdown here for Kisei as Gunkrab is exposed, but their Nexus is exposed more than anything.
The stopwatch difference just proves to be way too powerful for them there. The ability to survive, prevent the resets as they're also engaging Dragku.
Oh no, Shock in trouble. Shock has 25 stacks. He's got the stopwatch, he needs protection. He's shut down, and Boma gets the kill. The explosive cost just too little, too late.
Oh no.
Claire's been surrounded, 1v3, what can he do? Only forget
Chiefs
his
win.
own team, only wants to run it straight down and end the game on his own.
You've got 20 seconds on the next respawn from the side of Direwolves. They have a wave with a super crashing right now. They do have to kill a super minion themselves. So this could take a little bit of time still. Cupcake will respawn in time, and so I believe Only has said it is not worth taking the gauntlet. We're not guaranteed to lose here. And they're going to delay the game. Fantastic in the end for Only as his decision-making in a clutch environment. But there's an Elder alive in 8 seconds. There is a Baron currently alive. And the Chiefs just got so many shutdowns, and Boma is having the game of all games on this Kai'Sa. Working with Dragku, they're back in it and ahead.
Certainly are. That's a very early Jinx rocket. That Elder is gone. That's been picked up by Chiefs. They have got to play so carefully, so calculated now because their base is exposed. It can be backdoored. There are TPs that can be used by these members, but I don't believe there's a ward in the base that they can use to get clean access towards it. Chiefs just might say, we'll give ourselves as much team fight potential as possible. Elder into Baron, team fight win.
Teleport wards are there, but against the Elder Dragon, it's really difficult to do. No Jinx ultimate, so no crazy attempts at a steal this time around. It's just going to be secured. Direwolves are just looking to trim some waves once again. They just now need to buy time. If Direwolves want to win this game, they've got 2 minutes to just deal with it. Chiefs have 2 minutes to actually just win. They can actually afford to play 2 lanes at once with how much time they have. And with an exposed Nexus, they do have to show some respect. So I am wondering exactly what will happen from this Elder and Baron. It may just be a case of they don't feel safe enough, Chiefs, to play more than 1 lane. Just respecting what could be there in the back door until Dire will show themselves.
Well, that's what I'm curious about more than anything right now, is you've got all this power, but you're then almost too terrified to use it, knowing what could happen as a result. Sure, that top inhibitor probably still available for another couple of minutes before it can come back and prevent that potential backdoor.
Can't believe this is how we got here, Skibby.
Both teams might just go for a bit of a stalemate as they wait things out.
They just straight up gave 1,000 gold at the open Nexus. Like, we almost base raced a decisive win. And now Chiefs are knocking on the door.
You just couldn't write this stuff right now. Game 3, both teams looking to do whatever they can to try and end this game. Chiefs still have all the power in the world. They've opened up another lane of pressure. They've taken down another inhibitor to use. 2 in their favor. Their own soon to respawn. They are knocking on the Nexus front door.
Rel has flash. Dragku has the tools to find and engage right now. Minions hitting the first turret. It is on.
It certainly is on. Explosive cast has already been used. Only hits the stun to Sway. It just doesn't mean anything. 1 Nexus turret remains. The rest of the Chiefs are still here. The Baron buff is still there for another whole minute. It's do or die. Lift is asleep. He's gone gold, and the second turret is out. It's a beautiful Magnetstorm. The Magnetstorm is clutch, but the pulverize isn't enough. That's going to be the Chiefs taking the game, and that's them on now match point.
In a losing game, 2 back-to-back team fights in 2 minutes that go the way of Direwolves, the Chiefs, they see the attempt to split push. You know, we had 2 minutes till any objective was up. We had 2 minutes till any team needed to fight. And the Chiefs say, we see you pushing top lane. Why would we leave mid? It's faster. And they end up getting the inhibitor for it. And the chaos that follows that inhibitor take, you just, macro goes out the window. Decision making just gets intense. Everyone's yelling at each other. What are we doing? They gave over 17 shutdowns. Chiefs win. What on earth?
You just couldn't write it. It really is a situation that is so on limbo, so crazy. And Mac, I mean, even I beasted on that game because I'm so confused as to what's going on. What did you make of that one?
I think we could all tell that you were confused. I actually wrote it down. I didn't write enough lulls initially, but the lullaby was certainly one of the best calls I've ever heard.
Probably my best stutter of my life. I'm just so into it. What is going on? Then I was like, I'm just going to play it off, surely. So, yeah, hey. It happens. I broke Rusty in the process.
Yeah, no,
I'm sweating profusely, mate. That was a crazy game.
And look, the follow-up to that was, sounds like Skimmy's brain also needs a rest there as well, similar to the lullaby. But look, that was crazy. From the 37-minute mark, it looked like it was about to be a base race, and then all of a sudden it was split decision-making. Teleport diff going back to defend the blue side's base there for Chiefs as well. And then off the back of that, only almost deciding to run it down and try to go for another base race, decided to defend in the end, and then after that, it was yet another base race when Chiefs were like, you know what, let's just do it, going straight in, taking a couple of inhibs, and then winning that fight at the end. And I also thought at that point, it still could have gone any way. It was just such a hard engage. I think it was Cupcake jumping into the middle of things right at the end, almost turning the fight, but inevitably, Chiefs got it over the line. And what a damn entertaining match that was. Another 41-minute thriller.
I mean, for what it's worth, I think the gold was almost dead even at the point of the Chiefs hitting the Nexus. That's how close that game was. That's how close this series has felt overall as well. You know, Chiefs, they do put themselves at map point. Yeah, 4,000 gold difference, and it's over 70,000, basically nothing, right? The difference here was the Elder and the Baron, and they've shown, realistically, that they're so good at team fighting when they're actually able to engage on their terms, and that's what a lot of this series has become, Mac. It's whoever engages is winning it.
Yeah, it was exactly as you said as well. You know, Dragku, just before all of these crazy matters happened, you were saying he didn't get any favorable engages up until, you know, from that point. All of a sudden, everything turned on its head, and Chiefs just go, you know what, let's just go as 5, start to fight this one together, and pretty much just demand to be in lead of the tempo, because at that point, they're like, look, we're just going to make the decisions, and Direwolves, let's see how you react. And unfortunately for Direwolves, they just didn't react as well as we would have expected them to this time.
I'm just confused. I really am, Mac. I mean, I look at these games, and it looks to me that there's been multiple times now where Direwolves have had the victory in the palm of their hands, and then a fight goes awry or a situation goes pear-shaped, and it's like, oh, hang on a minute, we've actually just lost the game. Now we've got to deal with a team that has Baron and Elder. How do you ever beat a team 40 minutes in, mind you, when people are already, you know, 2 to 3 shotting you? How do you deal with that power on top of that already? So, I mean, I've seen situations now where it's like we can talk about draft adaptation, we can talk about, you know, weak side, strong side, priority for Herald, Dragon, whatever it might be, but it just comes down to the execution, I think, more than anything. And at the moment, Chiefs like, we are a team fighting team, and they're just winning more team fights.
Look, I just need you all to quickly shuffle over a bit, make sure there's a little bit of space. We're going to bring Stats Nat back in, because Nat has a couple of stats for us here. Nat, how you doing down on the sidelines?
I'm doing well. I mean, the games are absolutely back and forth. I still can't even get my head around the game that we just watched. It felt like the game of Mammoth and Gravitas again, and it just kind of makes me worried that whatever team is going to win this best of 5, like, they have to come up against Peace next. And you're just kind of like not really putting on a show that makes it look like you're going to be able to compete with Peace. But I'll jump into the stats looking at this game. It's probably the closest matchup we've ever had. You know, you thought Pentanet and Peace was a close matchup, but we've got 45 to 50 kills favoring Chiefs. Chiefs having 50 kills. Towers are 24 to 27, and Dragons are 10 to 7, and them going 1 Elder each.
Okay,
so
that's
it's
getting pretty
really
close.
Yeah, pretty much bang on.
Yeah. They're just 1-for-1ing each other in almost everything.
Yeah, it's been a few times where it looks like the Soul could have gone either way, and look, even though the Soul did go Direwolves' way that time, it didn't really change how things ended. Quickly, I know production probably doesn't have it there as well, but Pabu's put a spicy tweet out. I don't know if you guys have been, you probably haven't had the time to look at Twitter.
What's he done?
Biggest takeaway from this best of 5 so far is that we're versing Peace in the finals. So, he's keeping it spicy on social media. And I guess we'll see once we get there. But look, before we get there, we've got to go to a break. Before Game 4, will Direwolves bring this one back? Or can Chiefs close it out 3-1? I guess we'll see very shortly. Don't go too far. Game 4 coming up after the break.
Back up, so he's down to 10% before this fight starts. The Dragon gets stolen. Add insult to injury. Your jungle has no presence. The explosive cast is beautiful. They get put to sleep. Certainly are. Looking to try and take down that mid turret as a result. Gunncraft is so happy with the rocket launcher firing. He's already taken down Liv to half. Sterix is being popped. Out comes the TP. The fight ensuing. Swape looking for a flash angle. He has